you need to make sure to do this before you apply for a loan. This is Sean with Sean Realty, and today we're here with Derek, and he's going to tell you exactly all the things that his clients normally do that are pitfalls that you can avoid. That way you get yourself in the best standing possible to get yourself the best quality loan.
Derek Altunian with Guaranteed Rate. Thanks, Sean. I appreciate you inviting me out today.
Yes, sir.
Basically, when I look at pre-approving a client, I take a look at income and assets and credit. Well, first thing I would do before I even talk to any sort of lending guys or gal, I would have my credit pulled. I'd take a look at it, see what my scores are, see if there's any collections, see if there's anything negative on it, and try and get it cleaned up as quickly as possible. You can call credit repair people. There's not a lot of great ones out there, to be honest. You can give me a call and I can give you a good referral. I got a couple good people on my little Rolodex. But get your credit in order. The next thing is income. Don't switch jobs right before you're about to purchase a home. That's a big no-no. Call a lending professional before you do that and say, hey, I'm looking at potentially switching jobs. What are your thoughts? We'll ask you, hey, is this the same industry? Is it the same job? Is it bump in pay? Are you going to make more? Is it more bonus driven? Is it more commission driven? If you're 100% commission, it's going to be very difficult if you're switching jobs in order to calculate your income and actually be able to count it. We have to take an average of a couple years, and that's how we calculate your income. If you're self-employed, being self-employed is very, very, it's a slippery slope. Obviously, you want to count as little as possible so you don't pay the man, but at the end of the day, if you don't pay the man, you don't qualify for a loan. Now, we do have other loan types of programs that will help the individual that has great credit but doesn't show any income. The interest rate's a lot higher. You're going to pay a lot more money back to the bank than you will for your taxes over the life of a couple years. You pay taxes. It is what it is. But as far as again, what you should do if you're self-employed, contact a loan officer. You may be 2 years out, you may be 1 year out, you may be good right now. It just depends on where your financials are. Definitely find a good CPA that knows what they're doing and isn't crooked and isn't going to make your tax returns look really, really, really funky, and it makes you look like you're a pauper. Because in that case, typically you have to go with the alternative financing, and those rates are anywhere between 7 and 9% versus our rates being in the 3s right now. I mean, this is a great time to purchase a home, and if you're not doing it right, let's figure out how we can make you do it right so that we can get you into a home.
Cool. We just had this one transaction that's pretty funny. Another thing you guys need to keep in mind is if you are going through the transaction process, if you get fired right after you got pre-approved and you're putting in offers on a house, you're not going to get away with it. Like, he's going to have to rerun your credit at the end of the transaction right before you close. So if you guys do get fired right before or during the process, let us know ASAP, because it's just going to screw up the entire process.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very true statement. That's kind of happened to us recently, but we do a lot of verifications up front, but we also do final verifications at the very end. Like Sean was saying, we re-pull credit. It's a soft pull. Doesn't show your credit scores and where they've gone. It shows if there's any additional debts, if you've had any additional credit pulls in between the process. The thing that I tell my clients is, there's a few rules. If you have to give your social security number to somebody, you need to call me first. If you need to make a large deposit, anything over $500, call me first. If you're going to change jobs, call me first. If you're getting a pay adjustment, call me first. Anything that has to do with your income or your assets, any of that stuff, you need to call me first. And if you do that, guarantee this will be a smooth process.
Another thing we just went through is kind of funny. So if you plan on opening up a new bank account and then taking all your down payment and all your income and everything and putting it in a new bank account without telling us, then be mindful of that too. How can you pre-warn them if they plan on doing something silly? Like, what would you advise them in that case?
So if you're looking to open a new bank account, ask yourself why. I mean, if you're just trying to set money aside for the down payment, I probably wouldn't do that unless you've started your bank account about three to 6 months ago. The reason being, we have to get 2 months of banking history. If you deposit a large sum of money, I need to see where that's coming from. And that's a government regulation. We have to source any large deposits because we need to make sure that you haven't it's not illegal money. It's not, you're not selling drugs. You're not doing, selling prostitution. There's a lot of things out there that the government wants to, squash and make sure that this money is legal and it's legally obtained. So that's part of the reason why we actually have to look at, large deposits and source where they come from.
One last thing that you need to think of is most people, believe it or not, if they're young, they get the down payment for their first home from BOM, which stands for Bank of Mom. And so if you're trying to get your down payment or any kind of your stuff processed for your first down payment through your Bank of Mom, and then make sure that whenever you do that, then you do that 3 months before you decide to buy the house, because the 3 months that it takes, or can you explain that a little bit?
It's very simple. If you're getting a gift from your parents, you need to, take a chat with them and say, look, are you willing to pay taxes on this potentially? Because if it's a large gift, anything over 13 grand, you're going to have to pay taxes on it. The other thing is if you want to just get some money from the BOM,
she is the bomb.
She is the bomb. Love your mom. You can get it probably about 3 months prior to, as long as they deposit it into your bank account, and then it's not considered a gift. So you got to be mindful of the time frame. And if you do come to a mortgage professional and they've basically said, hey, you need this amount of money and you're going to get it from your parents, you may want to look at maybe 3 months down the road at purchasing a home, so that your parents don't get the tax implication of giving you 50 grand. That's a lot of money.
Okay, and last thing, unless you can think of anything else, is that if you plan to do on any major purchases during the process, like say for instance you plan on buying a new car or just going out and getting a bunch of guns, like one of my clients did. They went out and right as they got after the pre-approval process, when they're in the middle of buying the house, they're like, we're just going to buy a whole bunch of guns and a Harley Davidson and then I think they got a Jeep. I'm like, you are in the middle of a process of buying a house. What is wrong? Oh, we already planned on doing that. It's like, great, you planned on doing that. You should have done that before or after you bought the house, not during. Can you give them a kind of a heads up of why buying something or opening up credit cards or doing anything like that can affect buying a house?
Goes back to
pre-plan that.
Yeah, it goes back to rule number 1. If you have to give your social security number out to anyone, you need to call me first. But if you're buying these things with cash that has nothing to do with your down payment or closing costs, go for it. Go spend however much money you want to. But if it dips into your down payment and closing cost fund, don't do it. You need to call your lending professional and ask them a question. Hey, can I go buy this Jeep? Can I go buy a gun? Those are things that you need to ask them, so that you're not impeding the process of purchasing a home.
So is there anything else that you should advise people on as far as pitfalls or advice before they get started in this process?
I would just say, contact your real estate agent and your lending professional to make sure that, you're going with the entire process. You're not giving out your social security number to open new debt. You're not, getting large deposits from parents without, talking to your lending professional. The pitfalls are, there's not very many of them out there. Changing jobs, that's another one. Don't do it. Just don't do it.
All right, and the last thing and the most important thing is that you cannot take a single step forward towards your first purchase or your first investment property until you do this number one thing, which is make sure to slam that like button, subscribe, and comment below any questions you guys have. This is your number one source for getting all the answers that you need to get into your first initial purchase. And then also, if you guys are watching us on Instagram, go check me out on YouTube. And if you're on YouTube, go check me out on Instagram. I try to post as frequently as possible.